Okay, my last part. Do you have a lot of complaint from people, from Englishmen, that say that they didn't get the language? Do you have that?
We have a few, but less than 5% of the complaints are from Anglophones in the province that are unable to receive a service from a government employee or a government institution in their own language. That's the nature of the beast. The problem does not lie with that. And not every Francophone is bilingual, but many Francophones are, as compared to the Anglophone population. So in some areas, we have received a few complaints where people may not have been greeted in English as the Act requires, but you realize that as soon as they've expressed themselves, they were able to get the service. Where in some other parts of the province, people are not greeted in French, and when they ask for the service, they can't get it because the service provider, or that at that time or in that area, does not have the capability to provide it. So, yes, there is a difference, and it shouldn't surprise anybody when you have a majority and a minority.
What happened in Dieppe with the French sign and everything? Is there some Quebecois behind that, or is that, you know, I know this maybe is a personal question, like, should we be concerned of Quebecers coming here and fighting for Acadian rights?
Well, first of all, I don't see that happening in the minds of some people. They hear about what Quebec is doing, the independence, the sovereignist, etc. They don't like it. They're breaking up Canada, and they're all entitled to it. So they associate anything that is being done here through that lens. Oh, now we've got subversive Quebecers. No. Acadians are independent, strong people who have survived through a lot, who realize that unless they look after their language and culture, it's not going to be done for them. But they've always done it in a way, I think, that was with a lot of compromises, etc. What has happened in Dieppe is they're saying Dieppe is a French city, in the sense that 80%, close to 75% are Francophones. But when you drive around Dieppe, you wouldn't be able to tell that in every area because the signage, the commercial signage, was in English only. Studies have been made. I was talking about protecting against assimilation, protecting against situations like what has happened in St. John. Especially, we mentioned that some families have lost the ability to speak French. When they say that is always a possibility. How do you manage against that? Well, studies have been made to say if your environment gives you this subliminal message, or even this direct message that your language is not important because it's not on signage, then everything flows from that. So you don't think it's important, your children don't think it's important, and gradually you lose it. So
I'm sorry, you mentioned St. John. I remember I was involved with Les Jeux de l'Acadie. That was in 95, 94. And they had a French sign only, Bienvenue aux Jeux de l'Acadie. And there was a talk show then. Oh my God, the bigots, they came out of the woodwork. I mean, I call myself a bigot because I can't stand Quebecers, but that's another story. But they promote the French. It was a very proud thing to see in St. John, to see Acadians arriving to the royalist
but you know what,
city.
When you say you can't stand Quebecers, I think, you know, there's politics, and then there's people.
Yeah, but we're not allowed to work there, and they come here and work here. That's the part that I don't understand.
There's politics and there's people. And anybody that says, I don't like him, or I don't like that group, or no. When people approach me and say, well, you know, those French people, and I say, hang on a minute, who are you talking about?
Exactly.
Or when they say, the Quebecers, well, who are you talking about? Well, not all of them. I have a friend. Okay. Let's not label it. We're talking about people. We're talking about people's rights. We're talking about, you know, human values. We're talking about fundamental values of trying to live together with our differences and our diversity.
Oh, we are different.
But we're diverse, and that's what makes us
unique,
strong and unique. And you know what? We should be able to bank on that. We should be able to. People say, you know, bilingualism is expensive. Bilingualism is quite an asset, and we should be able to build on that. Turn it into a money-making venture. But we're still a little timid about it, a little tepid about it, because, you know, some people say, well, let's not disturb the majority if we go too far. Let's talk about it, let's develop it, let's see if this diversity, what we can offer as a province because of our status and because of our two strong linguistic communities, how can we develop on that and create jobs on that, and create, you know, economic activity, and continue this interaction. I'm not convinced that we have two solitudes, because I haven't lived that personally, and I look around, and I think that we have, sometimes the politics are different, the needs are different, the perceptions are different when it comes to community. The survey I mentioned to you earlier, Charles, about whether the question was whether you feel the French language is vulnerable or in danger, and the Anglophone said no, there shouldn't be, no, but the Francophone says, oh yeah.
Yeah.
So, excuse me, oh jeez.
It's all right.
Different reality, different perceptions. That's not something that should stop us from discussing.
Got a minute here. How many complaints you had last year?
Oh, about 100 and some.
100 and some?
Yeah.
So you still say your position is not as useless as the Ombudsman, Bernard Richard. We need your department here?
Hey, look, I'm saying that it's a positive
It's
thing.
a useful tool?
Yeah. Now, people say, well, you only had 100 complaints. I was at a conference a few years ago where people say, if people go to a restaurant and they don't like the meal, or they go to an event and they don't like the service, or they go somewhere and they don't feel that they've been served, only 3% or less will complain officially.
True.
Okay? So, I remember the first time, one of the first big files we had was following an election here, where we had like 18 complaints, people who were not able to vote in their own language. Well,
no, that's bad.
Okay, so you have one person from a voting station somewhere in the province where you have 700 francophones. Only one complains that he or she hasn't been able to vote. And you say, well, you only received one complaint. Well, there were 700 people there who were not given the opportunity. But people don't complain.
No.
The complaint side of our operation is not a very good barometer as to the quality or a lack of quality, or the presence or the lack of presence of service in your own language. But it gives us an opportunity to deal with governments in that particular area, in that particular instance, in that particular incident, and to say, okay, how are we going to move to improve from here? And that's what I do. I interact with governments. I tell them, let's work together. I'm going to lay out for you what the problem is, and with you you're going to find solutions, and if you can't come up with solutions that satisfy me, I'm going to make recommendations for additional ones.
How long do you plan to be here, much longer?
My second mandate will end in 2003. I'll be 63 at that time.
2003? You're long gone. You're long gone. You're long gone.
2013. I'll be 63 at that time, and probably will be I'll retire at that time.
Michel, listen, it's been a pleasure. Really, first time I ever sat down and talked to you. Very interesting, and we will do this again.
Anytime.
Merci beaucoup, Michel.
Ça fait plaisir.